What if a single place could tell 1,000 stories, from epic divine leelas, colonial clashes, to divine fury and unwavering faith? Welcome to Sri Lanka, an island etched with ancient paths. For centuries, pilgrims, traders, and kings have traversed its shores, leaving behind stories woven into the very soil and stone. In this video series, we are going to explore the famous pilgrimage to the Pancha Ishwarams temples, or 5 sacred temples of Shiva. In this video, we're going to cover the story behind the first one, the ancient Munneswaram temple. Keeping with tradition, before we start our pilgrimage, we first stop to worship Ganesha so our journey will be blessed with success. We stop for darshan at the famous Sri Bala Selva Vinayakar Koil. This temple is one of the oldest temples located in Colombo and sits beside the Kailasanathar Swami temple. They are located at the Captain's Garden. In the 1700s, there was a chief organizer for all trade who called himself Captain. Him, along with the Chettiar community, created this temple for worship. In that time, there was an ancient Shiva Linga languishing in the open and located under a tree. During that time, there was a devotee who was bereft of any offspring, so he made a vow that if he would become blessed with a child, he would build a Shiva temple to properly house the lingam. In course of time, he was blessed with a son, and being true to his word, he erected the Kailasanathar Shiva temple and named his son Kailasanathar as tribute. After soaking in darshan of Ganapati, we took darshan of all the Parivara Devatas around the temple, finally ending with darshan of Kailasanathar himself. Inside the Garbhagriha, the lingam was beautifully lit up by oil lamps, and darshan was a wonderful experience. As we left, we suddenly saw a cute Kanakuti, so of course we had to stop and feed her and give her some love and good scratches. Now with Ganapati's blessings, we proceeded to the first of the Pancha Ishwarams temples. The drive took about 2 hours from Colombo. Upon reaching, the first thing we noticed was a huge towering gopuram. Now the name of this temple itself tells a story. In Tamil, Muni means primal or Adi, and Ishwar means Shiva, so Munneswaram is that which is existing even before the incarnation of Sri Rama. This is currently one of the largest temples in Sri Lanka, and while the current structure dates mostly back to the 18th century, the story behind it goes back over 7,000 years. The most famous story around this temple involves none other than Lord Rama himself. After defeating King Ravana, Rama was plagued by the sin of Brahmatya for killing Ravana since he was a Brahmin. He was told he could only be freed from this curse at a place where the shadow of Ravana's body never fell, so he stopped here and performed pujas along with other ceremonies before he proceeded to Rameshwaram. In this place, Rama installed a lingam and prayed to Shiva for absolution, and thus the sacredness of Munneswaram was born. It's a powerful start to our journey because this is a temple born from redemption. The original temple flourished under the munificence of King Parakrama Bahu VI during the 1400s. The reputed wealth of the temple attracted the greed of the Portuguese invaders who destroyed and razed it to the ground in the year 1578. They built a Jesuit Catholic church on the very same foundation. Before their attack on the temple, due to divine grace, the temple priests had already shifted the Shiva Lingam and Murtis of other deities from the temple to another secret location. About 200 years later, the temple was restored for worship by King Ketheeswaram Singh in 1753, with later renovations happening in 1875, 1919, and further in 1963. The temple has long corridors and a massive mandapam and detailed carvings. You can clearly see the influence of the Dravidian South Indian temple architecture here. The rituals here are profound. The main deity is Sri Munanathar and his consort Sri Vativampika Devi. The daily pujas, the chanting, the offerings all create an atmosphere that's active yet deeply serene. Having the darshan of the ancient Shiva Lingam here was a magical experience. When we stood in front of Ishwara, the mind naturally went quiet and a flood of bhakti naturally swells up in the heart. One can't help but to be grateful not just to Ishwara and Rama for the existence of this temple, but to all the Hindus in Sri Lanka who rebuilt this temple again and again to ensure its grace is available to all. It reminds us that faith is evolving, ancient, personal, and universal all at once. Our journey now continues northward, and we have around a 5-hour drive to reach the second Pancha Ishwarams temple, the Thiruketheswaram temple. Known simply as Ketheeswaram, this temple is a testament to resilience, faith, and continuity. History tells us that the original temple dates back at least 5,000 years and is linked to the Ramayana itself. It is believed that King Ravana worshipped here. This ancient temple is one of the 275 Padal Petra Sthalams and one of the few located outside of India. According to temple records in South India, one used to be able to cross the Ramasetu on foot, so it was very easy for pilgrims to reach Sri Lanka. It was only in 1480 when a massive cyclone came and broke apart the Ramasetu. The glory of this temple has been sung about by the great Nayanars, including Yanasambandar, Sundarar, and Apar. The temple's origins trace back to the story of the churning of the ocean. Among the many treasures yielded by the churning, the most prized was Amrita, the nectar of immortality, which was claimed by the Devas after a victorious battle with the Asuras. But during the nectar's distribution, some was consumed by an Asura named Rahu Ketu. He was caught in the act, and the goddess Mohini cut off his head with the Sudarshana Chakra. Rahu Ketu remained immortal, but in two pieces. His head was called Rahu, and the serpent-like body was named Ketu. Ketu resolved to perform penance for stealing the Amrita, and chose to do so 8 miles north of Manar city. Lord Shiva was pleased with Ketu's tapas, and in commemoration, the place was named Thiruketheswaram, or Ketheeswaram, the holy place where Ketu worshipped Shiva. The area of Manar is said to be the land of the Vishwakarma, the divine architect, whose 5 sons were the progenitors of the 5 artisan clans. This temple thrived for millennia, patronized by countless kings, but history, like the ocean, has its tides. In the early 16th century, the colonial Portuguese, driven by their Catholic religious zeal, waged terrible campaigns against the native religions and completely destroyed Ketheeswaram. But before the Portuguese destruction in 1589, British records chronicle that the temple was as big and as revered as the one in Rameswaram. It had 7 prakarams, successively larger enclosure walls, with 3 moats and multiple gopurams and shrines. The only current temple that has 7 prakaras is the Sri Rangam temple in Tamil Nadu, and that is the largest functioning Hindu temple in the world, so you can only imagine how amazing the original temple must have been. However, all of that was destroyed by the Portuguese, and they used its stones to build their churches and a fort nearby. For over 300 years, this sacred site was lost, buried under sand and silence. But devotion does not die. In the 19th century, a movement started by Arumuga Navalar brought inspired communities together to restore the temple. The original Shiva Lingam was found, but it was damaged. In 1903, a small shrine was created and a new Shiva Lingam was installed called Kriya Lingam, and an image of the goddess Gauri was brought from Kashi. In 1948, the Thiruketheswaram Temple Restoration Society was formally established, and one of the first major successes was finding and reviving the ancient Pallavi Tirtham. A grand festival was organized, marking the revival of a centuries-old tradition. After 400 years, the ritual of taking the deity to the water, located about 200 meters south of the temple, was finally reinstated. However, in 1983, as civil war erupted between the Tamil community and the Sri Lankan government, the plans to restore the Thiruketheswaram temple came to a sudden halt. The northern coast, including Manar, was secured by the army, and the once vibrant temple fell into silence. By 1990, even the priests and their families had left, forced to seek safety elsewhere. The army took control of the temple grounds, no devotees could enter, and worship ceased for more than a decade. Although the temple itself remained intact, years of neglect had taken their toll. Out of the original 27 rest houses that once welcomed pilgrims, only a handful still stood. In May 2009, the war finally came to an end, and with it, the gates to Thiruketheswaram were reopened. Leaders from the Hindu community were now able to freely enter the temple grounds once again. What they found was a shrine surrounded by overgrown grass and thick shrubs, with visible signs of the war's impact. Yet, despite the surrounding devastation, the temple itself had withstood the turmoil. It stood quietly, ready to welcome back its worshippers. Standing here, you can feel the layers of time, and Ketheeswaram is a symbol of how culture and faith can endure, even through the darkest periods, and emerge again, shining even brighter. Next up on our journey, we travel about 2.5 hours to visit the third Pancha Ishwarams temple, Naguleswaram. The Naguleswaram temple is located at the northern edge of Sri Lanka, where the land gently meets the Indian Ocean in Kirimalai, Jaffna. This area is known for its clear, mineral-rich springs that emerge near the sea. Pilgrims visit these waters to purify themselves before entering the temple. The spring and the temple together form a sacred landscape where nature and spirituality exist in perfect harmony. Kirimalai means mongoose hill in Tamil. The name recalls an ancient story of transformation and devotion. According to the story, sage Nagula Muni performed deep meditation and tapas within a nearby cave here in honor of Lord Shiva. It is said that he got so shrunk by age and austerities that he was likened to a mongoose. Moved by his devotion, Lord Shiva appeared and granted him release from his form as the sage was cured of his mongoose face after he bathed in the nearby sacred springs. In gratitude, Nagula Muni constructed a small shrine and worshipped the lingam there. This act gave rise to Naguleswaram Kovil, meaning the Lord of Nagula. From that time, the temple has been regarded as a source of healing and spiritual liberation. The Kirimalai spring beside the temple is an essential part of the experience. The waters are believed to possess curative properties that restore balance to body and spirit. Generations of worshippers have come to these waters seeking renewal, carrying forward a living tradition of faith and healing. The temple served as a center of worship and philosophy for more than 2 millennia. However, in 1621, the temple was destroyed by Portuguese colonial rulers. Luckily, the temple priests were able to hide the main mortis in a well before fleeing, and those were later recovered. That being said, many of the temple's relics were lost to the sea. In addition to building churches over destroyed Hindu temples, the Portuguese frequently used looted stone and granite blocks to build colonial fortifications like this Manar fort. After a gap of almost 400 years, the Sri Lankan Tamil community got together and rebuilt the temple. However, the temple was destroyed again, this time by fire in 1918, and had to be rebuilt. In 1983, Naguleswaram temple came under control of the Sri Lankan army. From that time onward, devotees and temple priests could only enter the premises with special authorization. In October of 1990, the Sri Lankan Air Force conducted an airstrike on the temple complex. The first bomb landed near the front entrance, destroying 2 temple chariots and several surrounding structures. A second bomb struck the southern courtyard, damaging the residence of the temple priests. 2 days later, on October 18th, during the Kirara Gaudi fasting time, a time when thousands of worshippers had gathered, the Air Force attacked the temple again. The bombing caused the deaths of around 180 Tamil civilians, including several children and infants. The ancient Gopuram, the sacred mortis, library with palm leaf manuscripts, and other temple buildings suffered extensive destruction. This assault occurred even though the temple identification flags had been raised at all 4 corners of the premise following the guidelines provided by the International Committee of the Red Cross. After the incident, public access to the site remained prohibited for several years. It was only in 1997 that the chief priest, accompanied by a government official, was permitted to visit the site. Upon inspection, the temple was found in ruins, the sacred mortis desecrated or missing. No restoration work was undertaken at that time. Today, the remains of the bombed temple can be seen behind where the new temple has been built, a sober reminder to what Tamil Hindus have endured in Sri Lanka. On February 6, 2012, a major reconstruction of the temple was finally completed. The Mahakumbhabhishekam ceremony marked the temple's renewal and drew thousands of devotees who gathered to offer prayers and receive blessings, restoring Naguleswaram to its place as a vital center of worship and heritage in Jaffna. The temple follows the Dravidian architectural style, featuring tall gopurams covered with colorful carvings of divine figures. Within the sanctum, the lingam of Lord Shiva is worshipped through daily rituals and offerings. The complex also includes shrines of Parvati, Ganesha, Muruga, and other deities. From the ashes of destruction, the Naguleswaram temple stands once more as a living symbol of endurance and the timeless power of Lord Shiva's presence. After taking our blessings, we now proceed to the 4th and perhaps the most well-known Pancha Ishwarams temple, Koneswaram. The drive to Koneswaram temple takes around 4.5 hours. On the way, we had to stop suddenly as we saw a massive pond filled with thousands of beautiful flowers. We took out the drone and had an amazing time watching the birds and soaking in the supreme beauty of Sri Lanka. We then proceeded to Koneswaram. This temple is located on the eastern shore of Sri Lanka, where the Indian Ocean meets the cliffs of Swami Rock. Known as Dakshina Kailasa, or the southern Mount Kailash, this ancient temple of Lord Shiva has inspired poets, pilgrims, and kings for thousands of years. It is a place where devotion has endured through centuries of change. Trincomalee, or Trincomalee, is one of the world's finest natural harbors, a place celebrated in both ancient Tamil and Sinhalese chronicles. Here, on a cliff known as Koneswaram, is where Lord Shiva revealed himself to sages in a radiant form. The temple's name Koneswaram translates to the Lord of the Hill. For centuries, pilgrims have traveled here to offer prayers, bathe in the sacred waters, and witness the rising sun over the eastern sea. When we arrived during sunrise, we were greeted by some cute deer, peacocks, and crows. Even one of the peacocks decided to perform a little dance for all, as the temple bells and drums were ringing during Arati. The original temple itself was built by sage Agastya as directed by Shiva. Additionally, this sacred temple is said to be the birthplace of the great Naga being and sage Patanjali. For over a millennium, it was celebrated as the Temple of 1,000 Pillars, famed for its grandeur and artistry. Ancient travelers described its golden roof reflecting the morning sun and its courtyards filled with pilgrims and scholars. It was considered one of the most beautiful temples in the world, on par with Chidambaram, Rameshwaram, and Tirumala. Koneswaram's origins reach deep into antiquity. References appear in Tamil Sangam literature and in the Mahabharata, where it is praised as a site of immense sanctity. During the Chola and Pandya periods, the temple flourished under royal patronage. Kings endowed it with jewels, lands, and festivals that drew devotees across the Tamil world. Ravana Cliff, locally known as Ravana's Cut, is a dramatic 400-foot drop located at Swami Rock right beside the Koneswaram temple. According to the Ramayana, Ravana's mother was too ill to travel to Koneswaram shrine to worship Shiva. In an attempt to relocate the entire mountain and temple to his home, Ravana used his sword to carve through the cliff. Shiva stopped him by pressing his toe down, which caused Ravana to drop his sword and abandon the task, leaving the deep cleft behind. Even today, the cut looks very unnatural, almost perfectly cut into, and there's a statue of Ravana to commemorate this event. On Tamil New Year's Day in 1622, tragedy struck when Portuguese robbed the temple, disguised as Iyer priests, during the village procession. The fanatic missionaries then destroyed the temple using their cannons fired from the nearby ships and dumped the relics over the edge into the sea. Fleeing priests buried some of the temple's statues in the surrounding area, and all remaining priests, pilgrims, and employees were massacred. The final monument of the temple complex was destroyed 2 years later in 1624. Temple stones and its carved pillars were used to construct Fort Frederick to strengthen the colonial influence over the eastern seaboard of the island against other invading European armies. The destruction of the Koneswaram temple is historically viewed as the biggest loot of one of the richest temples in all of Asia. Gold, pearls, precious stones, and silks collected for more than a millennium were robbed all within a few hours. Even today, one can still find destroyed and submerged statues of the original temple beneath the waters nearby. We can only imagine the stories these Murtis can tell. Additionally, this was also the site of the very first Shakti Pitam temple, Lankayam Shankari Devi. It is believed to be the exact spot where the groin of Sati is said to have fallen. As the priests recounted, when the Portuguese invaded in the 1600s, they fired from their ships and completely destroyed the Devi Cliff Temple. In its place stands a single desolate pillar, like an observant witness to history, and that is the only part of the original temple that remains today. On certain occasions, they will light a deepam atop for all to see. While the temple of Shankari Devi was destroyed by foreign invaders, Devi's Murti is said to have been preserved in the present temple, which is next to where the original stood. It is said that devotees can feel the touch or sparsa of Devi here. In the 20th century, divers discovered an ancient Shiva Lingam in the waters below, a silent witness to the temple's lost splendor. This rekindled a cultural and spiritual revival, leading to the temple's reconstruction, and the Shiva Lingam was reinstalled. Today, the rebuilt Koneswaram temple reflects Dravidian architectural traditions. Its Gopuram towers are adorned with brightly colored sculptures of gods, sages, and celestial beings. Within the sanctum, the sacred lingam of Lord Koneshwar is worshipped with daily rituals, music, and offerings of flowers and light. Festivals bring the temple to life throughout the year, especially during Mahashivaratri and the Grand Chariot Festival, where thousands of devotees gather to sing hymns, walk in procession, and offer prayers overlooking the endless sea. At Koneswaram, the ocean itself feels alive, its rhythm blending with the chants that echo throughout the temple halls. Pilgrims say that the winds carry prayers across the waters to Kailash itself, connecting the southern shrine to the abode of Lord Shiva in the Himalayas. Each sunrise over Trincomalee reminds devotees that faith, like the sea, cannot be contained. It always finds its way home. Koneswaram stands today not only as a temple, but as yet another symbol of resilience and devotion. It tells the story of how faith continues to survive through destruction, rediscovery, and renewal, just like all the other Pancha Ishwarams temples. Now, we have to travel another 8 hours to reach the final temple in our journey, the Tondeshwaram temple. Tondeswaram is a port town on the southernmost tip of Sri Lanka. Historically, it's been known as the Tondeshwaram Kovil. At its zenith, it was one of the most celebrated and largest Hindu temple complexes on the island, containing thousands of stone and bronze murtis. The complex was a masterpiece of Dravidian architecture, built in the Pallava and Kerala styles by Tamil merchant guilds and Hindu kings. It was a thriving agraharam and emporium, complete with over 500 devdasis and thousands of Hindu yogis and priests. Today, competing historical narratives surround this site. Sinhalese Buddhist traditions claim the site as Devanunwara, suggesting it was founded in the 7th century strictly as a shrine to Upalvan, the guardian deity of Buddhism. However, Hindu historical tradition and the actual archaeological realities reveal a profoundly different origin. Tondeswaram was fundamentally a classical Hindu temple, not originally a Buddhist one. According to Hindu accounts, the site was established in antiquity by the royal architects of the ancient Naga kingdom, long before the integration of any Buddhist elements. Texts even link the installation of its original, central Shivalingam directly to the legendary King Ravana. Far from being a mere Buddhist guardian shrine, the Tondeswaram complex was a massive multi-shrine Hindu center. It housed the revered Nagarisa Nila Kovil dedicated to Lord Shiva, alongside major shrines to Vishnu, Ganesh, Muruga, and the goddess. The daily rhythms of the city were dictated by Hindu rituals. Tamil priests recited hymns to the gods in the early morning hours, and the temple owned the surrounding 70 villages to sustain its immense charitable alms halls. The glory of this Hindu marvel came to a devastating end in February 1588, when a Portuguese colonial naval captain descended upon the city, letting his soldiers plunder its gems, ivory, and gold. They overthrew thousands of ancient Hindu murtis, leveled the magnificent shrines, and defiled the sacred inner courts by slaughtering cows on the temple grounds. In the centuries that followed, the true history of the site was literally buried. Sinhalese Buddhist temples of a much later period were erected directly over the ancient Tamil Hindu ruins. Excavations at the site have found buried ruins of granite pillars, stairs, and slab stonework over the entire town, and it has led to numerous findings. Because a Buddhist temple was rebuilt on the site after the Portuguese destruction, it is venerated and run solely by Buddhists even today. But the earth remembers its Hindu roots. In 1998, a massive 4-foot-tall Shiva Lingam and a Pallava-era stone Nandi were unearthed in the garden of the modern Buddhist Vihara on the exact same site. The Lingam's large size has led archaeologists to conclude that it could be the principal murti of the ancient temple. These undeniable relics prove what the Hindu community has always known. Tondeswaram was and remains in spirit Tondeshwaram, a glorious ancient seat of Lord Shiva and Vishnu and an irreplaceable jewel of Hindu heritage. As of today, the only piece of it that still remains is the original stone gateway standing in the front. Completing a pilgrimage to all 5 of these ancient Hindu temples offers a profound connection to the divine and a glimpse into our ancient heritage. Although colonizers in time have tried to bury these sacred coastal shrines, their spiritual foundation and surviving stone relics remain an undeniable testament to our enduring faith. If you were inspired by this journey, please subscribe to our channel and continue watching to uncover more lost histories. We also urge you to join our nonprofit organization to help save India's ancient temples and traditions for future generations. Together, we can make a difference and ensure Sanatana Dharma is protected, celebrated, and never forgotten by future generations.